We'll begin tonight with anticipation of a decision by the People's Democratic Party on the zoning of all offices of its National Working Committee. At the end of its closed-door meeting in Enugu, the PDP Zoning Committee adjourned without reaching a decision, and it will reconvene next week. Members of the committee present at the meeting include its chairman and Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, Bauchi State Governor Samuel Otom, and former Governors Sule Lamido, Ayodele Fayose, and Babangida Aliyu. Also in attendance was a former secretary to the government of the Federation, Ayim Pius Ayim, some PDP federal lawmakers, and other key stakeholders of the party.
We had a fruitful meeting and we are adjourned to conclude next week. Thank you all.
Well, for more on this, we're being joined by Arise analysts Mahmud Jega and Barrister Frank Tietie. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Let's begin the discussion. I'll start with you, Mahmud Jega. What are your expectations as to how PDP or the ruling party, APC, is going to zone the various offices with particular reference to the presidency and the chairmanship positions? Mahmud.
Well, the tricky one usually is the presidential ticket. If a party decides where it wants to zone the presidential ticket, then the other offices become much easier, because the main political division in the country is the north-south divide. So if by any means a party, major one, decides that the presidential ticket will go to the south, then you expect the chairmanship to go to the north, the secretary to go to the south. Usually this is how it has been done, beginning with the MPN in the 1970s. But just like Sambo's report shows now, there is some element of confusion, whereas it looks like in APC, all the major contenders are from the north, meaning they have psychologically resigned themselves to a southern presidential ticket. In PDP, all the contenders, or most of them, are from the south, which usually suggests that you want to push the presidential ticket to the other side. And also, as Sambo said, in Nigeria, as much as possible, we don't want that, because you can see the 2019 election was quite peaceful because the two major presidential candidates were from the north. So it augurs better for national peace than to have one major northern and one major southern candidate in 2023. But we'll have to see how the parties work things out.
We'll see. At least by October, December, we should know who exactly is getting what. Let me take it to Frank Tietie. Frank, well, it looks like the choice of chairman for either party will be a great predictor of where the chips will fall as far as the presidential candidate is concerned. But the governor of Bauchi State, is saying that zoning really should be jettisoned come 2023 as far as the PDP is concerned. What do you think about that? Would it provide an opportunity for Nigeria to begin to move forward from zoning, or is zoning really the only way out?
Well, I think that the handwriting is very clear, and that there is no need for much permutations, because we have recent history of political decisions by these two major political parties. It is clear that the APC is more in touch with reality, realizing the fact that the southern presidency is more or less end by reason of the fact that President Buhari has served out 8 years, and with a political figure like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who worked very closely and who helped the APC to clinch the presidency, it is expected that some measure of understanding, which has been very clearly depicted in the APC, that they want is southern president. The issue, therefore, becomes that of personality. But as to PDP does not want to. PDP also is trying to be realistic in trying to considering that it wants a shot back at the presidency at all costs. And it's considering strong personalities like Atiku Abubakar, who is a northern political heavyweight. So these are the things that are being played out here. So I don't want us to play a game of conjecture here. It is clear APC wants a southern president, and PDP, the strong forces in PDP, talking about people like Nyesom Wike, are rooting for a northern presidential candidate because they think that, just like the spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum said recently, the North controls a major block of votes that can determine who becomes president. So I don't want us to dwell in with this air of confusion, but I'm more concerned with Sambo's report, which is a bit more foreboding. When you think that there might be crisis because of this north and south divide, I do not think so. Because the personality of Muhammad Buhari, who contested elections several times in 2007, 2011 and 2015, he had a messianic personality with a cult-like following, and so that's why we had those unusual tensions, which are unlikely. So who are we talking about contenders now? The chairmanship clearly will come from, it's predetermined already. I can say that with some measure of confidence. So look at the personalities who will eventually become presidential candidates. I do not think that they will create that kind of vitriol that will engender this, this fear of tension. Yes, we are currently faced with insecurity, but I've always said the insecurity we are having now has an international dimension.
Frank, in politics, 24 hours is a long time and things can happen. Mahmud, I'm sure you know that. So you may not be too sure. But then he raised an issue. Let me take it from there. Talking about Hakeem Baba Ahmed, Mahmud, he said, even though the North has the numerical strength, neither the North nor the South can solely produce a president without the help of other parts of the country. What's your sense of that statement? If you can do justice to that question, Mahmoud, in 1 minute, I'll be okay.
The whole purpose of adopting the presidential system of government in 1979 was to ensure that no one part of the country could produce the president on its own. And by requiring that you must get 1/4 of the votes in 2/3 of the state. That's exactly the intention, and it has worked well since 1979. I don't think we should worry too much about what the spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum said, because in the end, it is the practicing politicians in the various political parties that will determine who will take the presidential ticket in their parties. And as we can see, there are all kinds of calculations, like my friend just said about PDP may say, look, the most important thing is not the sentiment about having a southern president. It is to get the party back in power at the federal level, whatever that means, maybe going with the ones that we think has a strong candidate. So I don't think we should worry too much about statements by people who are not really in the center of politics, but are heading other groups.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll come back and continue. Thank you, Mahmoud. Frank, we'll still be back. Stay with us.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching Newsnight, coming to you live from Abuja. We still have our Rise News analyst, Frank Tietie, in our offsite studio, and Mahmud Jega is with us right here in the studio. Now, let me paint a scenario, both of you gentlemen. If in the event that a Southerner emerges as chairman for the APC, right? And then on the other hand, if the chairman emerges from the North in the case of the PDP, what are the chances of a presidential candidate emerging from both, the same zone as that of the chairman in either parties? And what would be the implications of that? Mahmud Jega, let me start with you.
The fact is that even if one zone produces the chairman, the presidential primaries is still more than a year away. And honestly, if at the primaries approach, the permutations are such that certain candidates have a commanding position, honestly, that will not stop them from contesting and winning. And then you can still correct the matter. If, let's say, you produce a southern chairman and then another emerges as presidential, or a person from the same zone emerges as presidential candidate, you can always correct the chairmanship. It is not impossible for politicians to do.
Tietie, what do you think?
I don't want us to be academic about this. Nigerians are politically savvy after many years of political transitions. It is clear the APC wants a northern chairman and wants a southern candidate, and it's a matter of it's a matter of reality to the extent that a southern presidential candidate for the APC has been earned as a result of the fact that we have already had a northern president from the APC. So the APC is very clear-headed about it. It is the PDP that we should worry about. However, I want to deal with this matter in the light of the fact that we have very powerful personalities involved. So I want us to be realistic to the extent that who will be the possible candidate of the APC from the south, and then the possible presidential candidate of the PDP from the north. Now, that is how we should be thinking. That's how we should be making our permutations in order to tackle whatever implications that will be for the polity, for Nigerians that we care about. I lead a citizens organizations, and I interact with citizens every day. And their fears are not that there will be a tension as a result of a northern president and southern president, both heavyweights fighting them. But we are looking at a situation where people will have a sense of belonging. And these political players, the ones that run PDP and APC, they understand the heartbeat of the people. They know where the votes lie. They know how Nigeria has been run. They know how to maintain stability. Irrespective of the topsy-turvydom that we've had under a Buhari presidency, they still know that it is imperative for Nigeria to have a measure of political stability from 2023. So 2023 is very significant. And that's the reason why a party like APC is very determined to bring a southern president. I'm not making this prediction on a whimsical basis, but clearly from reading the political, I would say the political crystal ball, it's clear. Now, and that's why I dare to make mention of personalities. Atiku Abubakar, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the current vice president. These are strong contenders. In the PDP will do everything possible. And you see, the problem I think that the APC has is that who can possibly stand against a powerful candidate like Atiku Abubakar, who has a very powerful sway right now on the PDP, a founding member who has suffered the same fate with the president, having lost elections when people were actually sympathetic to him. But for goodness sake, in southern Nigeria, he's considered as a northerner, he's considered as a Fulani man, but the PDP doesn't think about that. So all of these indices are the things we need to consider and manage as we approach 2023. Those are the contentions we face. As for predictability, we can be certain of the direction that APC is going and where PDP is going. It doesn't matter what of these delays, this filibustering that is going on with all meetings here and there. Nigerians know what to expect.
Again, Frank, the way you're sounding, powerful Atiku, it looks almost like you're campaigning for him. All right, well, Mahmud, let me get to you. There's talk that the APC is trying to woo, just talk, the former President Goodluck Jonathan with the presidential candidate. He mentioned the vice president, Yemi Oshibajo, and then he mentioned the one that Ondo State Governor calls Capone, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But do you see that happening? I mean, wooing the president, former president rather, going to APC? And if he does, how do you expect PDP to respond?
I have seen people saying all this, and the assumption was that, the northern politicians are trying to play a game because President Jonathan can only be eligible to contest once. So possibly saying, instead of having a fresh candidate like Tinubu or Fahimi, who will probably have to serve 8 years, Dr. Jonathan can only serve 4 years, and then after that, the North can reclaim the presidency again. That was the assumption. I personally don't think it will go very far because APC propaganda made so much damage to President Jonathan during his reign, and I can see they will have serious problems convincing their supporters to go out and cast votes that will restore him to the presidency, with some of his top aides like Desiani, Alison Maduike, Abu Road, with all the charges of embezzling billions of dollars. I don't think it is a very realistic prospect. They are more likely to go for a less controversial and probably less tested candidate. That's the way I see it. On the other,
you have an idea in your head who that could be?
well, you know, if ultimately President Buhari makes up his mind about who he would like to support, the one that he has the biggest IOU for would be Asiwaju Tinubu, because he was a very big factor in making him president in 2015. But many of the APC governors in the north appear to think that probably Dr. Kayode Fayemi is better, more saleable, a bit more stable in their own calculation. And there are others also who think the transportation minister, Rotimi Amechi. So those are the visible ones. But you know, there could be invisible candidates also.
There you go. Let me take it back to Frank Tietie. Since you mentioned the fact that, you know, there are heavyweights involved here, talking about the chairmanship of both parties. Let's look at some of the contenders for the PDP and the APC, and what you think they'll be bringing to the table in the event they emerge chairman of the party. Will they be coming with liabilities, or will they be an asset to the party?
You know, we have always had a history of political arrangements that have a way of, you know, reaching conclusions. Whoever will emerge, whether as a PDP chairman or APC chairman, it's the personality that can drive the larger agenda of the party. And that's the reason why Secondus had the problems he had in PDP. He was no longer representing the larger interests, the influential persons who run PDP, who take decisions, who want a certain presidential candidate to come from a certain place, and who would, you know, pursue the interest of certain candidates, as we had in Bayelsa and other elections. Now, so the personality of the person is somebody that will be more pliable to the powers that be in these political parties. The PDP has an individual called Nyesom Wike, Governor Nyesom Wike, who seems to be wielding a lot of influence. So we should be looking forward to the person that Wike will support, because it appears very clearly now that Governor Nyesom Wike is now in bed with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And to that extent, they will want a chairman from the PDP that will support an Atiku Abubakar presidential candidate. In the APC, I think that the APC has been a party that has operated with a stylistic consensus, and it has done it in a manner that I don't know whether we should commend it, but it has ensured some measure of peace. So they will reach a consensus as to who, whether it's Yari, whether it's Al Makura, but I believe that the same thing, or the same way they have applied consensus will prevail. But please, let me quickly say this. Former President Goodluck Jonathan should not just be wished away. Because the truth about it now is that it's not 8 years, or nearly after 8 years, former President Goodluck Jonathan's days as president are now considered as El Dorado in Nigeria. So let us not forget that the people who vote matter a lot. There is a lot of political divides now. It's no longer just North and South again, but a lot of more interests. Minorities now have a lot of influence, and it comes from a minority region. And then I don't want to bring the issue of religion, because there is a very strong evidence that the 1993 elections, where we had a Muslim ticket, and we had a very stable, successful election, the most successful adjudged ever. It shows that religion may not really influence it. But former President Goodluck Jonathan is a very popular personality in northern Nigeria, and he serves a lot of interest. So to a large extent, and I dare to say on national television that Bola Ahmed Tinubu may not enjoy the kind of support in the South that a personality like former President Goodluck Jonathan will enjoy. So we should be looking at the intrigues that will play out as to the personalities that will be thrown up by these parties as presidential candidates. As for who will become chairman, either for PDP or APC, we know that they are the compliant ones, the ones that are loyal.
Yes. All right, Frank, thank you so much there. Mahmud, the last question for you. Is it possible, speculations, permutations, is it possible that the PDP couldn't reach an agreement yet, in the Enugu meeting, because they want to test the waters, or wait and watch what APC would likely do? What do you think?
Well, that calculation will go on until the very last minute. You know, traditionally, you find major political parties will hold their conventions the very last weekend that is on the INEC timetable. Everybody wants to see what the other party will do. However, I think the problem that PDP had today was that they should have taken a firm decision on the zoning of the presidential ticket, because once they do that, the rest would be easier. And they didn't do that, so that is why this committee had a problem today.
All right, thank you so much. The most important thing would be that person that can handle or manage Nigeria's diversity. Frank Tietie, thank you very much. Mahmud Jega, both gentlemen, Arise News analysts, thank you for your time.